Hello, Internet, and welcome to my review of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, episode 68. When we last left off, we were introduced to a new mission. It's a combined mission between Team 7 and Team 10, who are teaming up to guard these two actors, Ashina and Tomaru, who have been, gotten death threats over this Romeo and Juliet knockoff they're doing called Romy and Jewel. And then Tomaru turns out to be a super fucking creep who is kind of trying to set up a kissing scene between himself and 13-year-old Chocho. Who, boy, I have some thoughts about that, because this episode does nothing to allay my fears about that. But also, they got attacked by this Rain Village guy, who seems to be a bit more... who seems to have it, as we find out throughout the course of this episode, appears to have an inside man inside the studio, or he's just researched it really well. It makes more sense if he has an inside man. But anyway, getting onto the episode itself, the episode opens with, first it starts off right where last week left off, with Chocho freaking out that she has a kissing scene with Tomaru, which, again, really creepy. Because Tomaru is got to be 19 or 20, and Chocho is, again, 13. Why? Why is this happening? Why is this episode this episode? But, so, after that, Chocho has a conversation with Sarada, where Sarada expresses concern about Chocho's, mental state and focus on the mission, which doesn't quite seem right. Because Sarada is the smart one in the group, right? She should be like, wait a second. This creepy-ass 19-year-old is flirting with my 13-year-old best friend. That's weird. What the fuck? Why does no one thinks this is weird? That's my biggest problem in this episode. Really, no one really thinks, she shouldn't be kissing Tomaru. That's fucking weird. I have a lot of thoughts about this episode, and they are almost all negative. Alright. And there are all kinds of little bits throughout that really heighten up how much of a creep he is, and why I really want him to turn out to be the inside man for the assassin. I'm not entirely sure why he'd be doing that, but it's just the only way that this arc can really be redeemed. There's a scene, the director mentions that Tomaru always likes to add in a kissing scene, is the exact quote, which just makes it seem like an extra creep. Also, it's just not how television works. Actors don't get to write their own scenes. I'm a theater major, I know about how scripts work. Actors don't write their fucking scripts. Sure, TV is not exactly my, forte, but, that's not how any of this works. Then after, Inojin rightly calls out this kissing scene is weird, and, should really not be happening, which, props to Inojin for that. I'm really not, generally, I'm not a fan of Inojin and Chocho's interactions, just because they lean very heavily on just Inojin, constantly fat-shaming her, which is really the worst part of his character. But this was a good one. Even if for his perspective, it's probably more I stopped Chocho from kissing the guy she wants to kiss. He did the right thing there. But Tomaru, promises to push it back, and he's just way too obsessed with doing this kissing scene to not really be a creep. And then, here's the thing that there's so little about this episode that makes sense, if we really stop and think about it, because none of this seems right. Boruto and Sarada have a quick moment where they're something about this studio seems off. More on that in a second. But, from a pure, looking at the Romy and Jewel show, why the fuck is Tomaru's character trying to, why is Tomaru trying to set up a scene where his character kisses Chocho? And how would that make any sense with the fact that his character is canonically romantically involved with Ashina's character? How is everyone okay with this? I'm sure there's that brief little scene where, we see a clip of the show, and Ashina's character is oh, were all your promises to me just bullshit? And, sure, I guess, but it just isn't really making, a sense right now. Though I think it's a really funny bit One of the few things in this episode is unabashedly liked. There's a scene where they all comment on how, like, the show just does not care that some assassin just tried to kill off its two main characters, which seems very much like a rushed show. Like, a show is a very, if you have an episode every week, you gotta be on it, you can't take any breaks, and it just kind of make a fair bit of sense that, like, the show would just be like, yeah, we don't have time to stop. That does make some sense. And so we go through the scene. We go through some more parts of the show within the show, including the scene I just mentioned with Ashina and Tomoru's characters, where Ashina's character asks if everything Tomoru's character told her was a lie. Yada yada yada. Ashina comments on his line reading, which is a really random scene, except Tomoru seems to react to it really weirdly. And it's right after that he starts suggesting to Ashina to tell the crew that she's leaving after this one episode, which is weird. Like, I definitely get the impression that he has some, like, genjutsu shit on Ashina, especially because that's right around the time, as I previously mentioned, Boruto and Sarada have their lines about, feeling something weird about the studio. I definitely have the impression that he's mind-controlling Ashina or something, which I thought was going to be happening. There's a scene later on when Chocho's wearing Ashina's dress. I'll get to that in a little bit. But, like, where I definitely thought it would be, like, a genjutsu scene. This is the scene where we finally find out he's the villain. But it doesn't happen, which is weird. But anyway, Ashina is apparently leaving after this episode, which is not how any of this works. You don't... If you're an actress, especially someone as dedicated to her craft as Ashina is shown to be, she does not announce to her producers that she is leaving a job on the episode she is currently filming. That is not how this works. That is not how any of this works. It's just, God. If you're going to write an episode about television, research television! Especially because, they called us in the last episode, they called the show a soap opera. If it's anything like American soap operas, which, like, I don't know how Japanese soap operas work, but American soap operas come out every day. An episode a day. That is... Imagine just having to rewrite so many scripts. I feel bad for the writers if any of this is supposed to make any sense. Like, no, that's not how this works. That is not how any of this works. Alright, that's not really important to the quality of the episode, but, like... No, this is important to the quality of the episode. I take that back. This is super important. Because the people writing this are TV writers. They should fucking know. They should know that that's not how television works. Oh, boy. Whew, boy. Okay. Anyway. Back to Tomoru the Super Creep. So... At some point, scattered throughout all this, we see Konohamaru and Milegi investigating the hole the assassin broke through in order to kill Tomoru and Ashina. The failed attempt, I should say. And they imply that the only way he could have known that hole was the best place to blow up is if he either had studied the building, which seems kind of unlikely given this is not how stories work, and or if he had someone on the inside. Who I am really hoping is Tomoru, because I want him to be the main villain. Just because that is the only way to salvage this arc at this point. I mean, sure, all that shit about not knowing how television works is kind of, frustrating me to no end. But it's not really important to the crux of the arc itself. But Tomoru being a creep and being a main villain is important to how the arc works. But anyway, meanwhile, Tomoru and Team 10 are walking with Tomoru, or they're all walking together outside, and some fans are, like, storming, like, banging on the gates, and the gates fall down, and the fans, like, storm the studio, and Shikadai and Inojin stay to hold off the fans, while Tomoru and Chocho run off alone, giving us plenty of time for plenty of time for Tomoru to be a creep, as he does a whole fucking lot. Like, really, the rest of the episode from here on out is just Tomaru being a creep over and over again. There's the scene where they hide in the locker, and Tomaru almost kisses her. That's a creep move, because again, he has got to be at least, at a bare minimum, like 19 or 20, and she's 12 or 13. This fucking episode. I think this might be my most saying fuck in a video I've ever done, because just, fuck. Tomaru's a creep. And then we go back to the studio, the fans miss them, and Shigerai and Inojin thankfully interrupt Tomaru trying to kiss 13-year-old Chocho. But he still tries again, because, Tomaru, I think he tries to give Ashina's part to Chocho, which, again, is not how this fucking works. Christ. Okay, y'all know I have thought. Yeah. Alright, but anyway, he puts Chocho in Ashina's dress, and they look like they're about to have another moment, and thankfully, Mitsuki, being the best boy, knocks on the door, interrupts their whole little thing, I think it's like to remind Chocho that, like, what her job actually is, because she's getting swept up by this asshole. And I feel like I should say right here, I'm not upset at Chocho specifically, because Chocho is 13, and it's perfectly normal for 12 or 13-year-olds to start crushing on, people significantly older than them. That's a common occurrence, and if that remains an unrequited crush, it is a healthy occurrence for all pubescent people. I'm getting on my soapbox here. If you don't want to see me on my soapbox, wait till this arc is over, because I'm not getting off of it. But it's when that is reciprocated by the adults. That's where this episode somehow fucking lies. I can't believe I'm seeing an episode that is so loath to denounce Tomaru's pedophilia. And I'm gonna get on to this, especially once the episode starts to reveal that Tomaru actually is just an asshole, because you'll see. I'm gonna get there. I'm just gonna get through the story. I see so much fucking wrong with this episode. Alright. So, anyway, Ashina comes out, and she sees Chocho in her dress, and she's like, what the fuck? Tomaru, finally someone realizes, like, Ashina is the one shining light in this arc. She's the only one who recognizes Tomaru's the fucking worst. And she's like, yo, and Tomaru's like, no, come back with me and I'll explain it all. And Tomaru has this whole bit where he's like, I can tell that she's crushing on me, and I'm just teasing her around, and God, I fucking hate him. It's just, no, you are the adult. You need to act like an adult. Maybe it's just because I've spent my summer working with middle schoolers, but, like, you need to be the adult, Tomaru. This is far beyond just teasing her. You are straight up, inches away from her lips several times this episode, and Jesus fucking Christ, I hate him. Anyway, moving on. Meanwhile, with the kids, Mitsuki is like, Chocho, what's up with you? You're not usually like this. You're normally, all go get 'em and work on the mission and still, be yourself, and now you're just like a, blushing schoolgirl, and that's nice and all. It's great that, someone calls out Chocho, but let's be real, it should have been Sarada. That's Sarada and Chocho's relationship has always been one of my favorite parts of Boruto. Going back to, Naruto Gaiden, they were, my favorite parts of Gaiden in the manga back in, 2015. And I do wish that it was Sarada who got to give this speech to Chocho, because really, that's really where they're... Especially given that Sarada has had a lot of these conversations with Chocho throughout this singular arc. It does make like Mitsuki and Chocho have really had zero connection until this one scene. And it just doesn't quite feel like the right person is giving the speech. But anyway, that gets Chocho real mad, and she breaks free of the butterfly mode, destroying the dress as it falls down around her, and good on Sarada throwing her a coat. Like, good. Sarada's just a good friend. Sarada, God bless you, Sarada. You're also one of the shining lights of this arc, even if you have that bit where you're just concerned about the wrong thing with Chocho being in the episode. And then Chocho goes back to normal, and Tomaru comes out, and like because Ashina finds out the dress is ripped, but she still wants the ring back, which is the prop for later in the scene. And Tomaru gave Chocho a fucking wedding ring, because this arc is the worst. Okay. And then Tomaru comes out, and the show finally deals its cards that Tomaru is an asshole. It continues the gag of people not recognizing Chocho between her butterfly form and her normal form, which is like, alright, that's just kind of a neutral thing. It's not, hilarious, it's not bad, it just kind of is. But then he's like, it's good you have that wedding ring, because you'll never get one, because I'm not into fat girls. Jesus Christ. So, it's good that the show finally, at the very end of this episode, acknowledges that Tomaru's an ass. So you're probably thinking, Gracer, you knew about this scene beforehand, why did you go on being so mad at Tomaru, even though the narrative was clearly going to condemn him? Well, because it doesn't. It fucking doesn't. No, because it acknowledges Tomaru is a bad person, but by making his flaw, making fun of her because she's fat, it kind of implies that if he had actually had those feelings for her while she was fat, it would be fine, right? Because, like, it's not saying he's awful for, coming super close to making out with a 13-year-old. It's saying he's awful because finding the words for this. Because he would not have reciprocated those feelings of wanting to make out with a 13-year-old if the 13-year-old were fat. That is the problem with this episode. That is the problem with Tomaru. The problem with this arc is why I really want 69 to redeem this arc, but it's not looking too good for it. So, and even still, in the end, Chocho still sticks up for him because it's part of the mission. No, accepting his fatphobic bullshit is not part of your mission, girl. Get out there! You deserve someone better than Tomaru, alright? Just, God, I have some thoughts, but I have so much negative thoughts about this episode. This was really, y'all have seen my anime reviews, the 4 or 5 I've done for the anime here. You've seen my dozens of manga reviews. Y'all know I love Boruto. I love Chocho. I hate this arc. I'm glad it's a 3-episode arc. Because I have, seen some of the, summaries for the future episodes. It does end with 69, which is good. But, God, this is just... It's actively trying to be the worst. Ugh. So, yeah. Hopefully, there are still some ways to say next week could save this arc. Calling out Tomaru for being a pedo. Honestly, at this point, revealing he's the one behind the assassin actually really could not really redeem this, because it's already saying he's a problem, just, not exactly for the right reasons. And, this fucking episode. Alright. There are, I was about to say there are some good things about this episode. There really aren't. If it focused maybe a bit more on the, who's trying to kill these people, what the Rain Village has to do with it, it might have been more interesting. But this episode dedicates all of its time to the Tomaru and Chocho plot, and it's just so bad. It's so hot garbage. But you know what? I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I sure didn't. But I also hope you all enjoyed the video. And if you did, you can feel free to drop me a like, subscribe, do whatever the fuck you want. At this point, it doesn't really matter. This episode is so bad. It's just... I'm still going to be here for next week. I know this is just a filler episode, filler arc. As much as anything in Boruto is filler again. Filler is really a kind of a fluid term in Boruto. But, you know what? It is what it is. We're here. So yeah. Keep kicking ass and I'll see you in the future. Bye.